Production analysis allows you to add your own calculated rows. All rows and columns available in your analysis spreadsheet can be used in your calculation. We're going to go through adding a calculation. From Reporting Tools, go to Production Analysis and then Analysis. We're going to open up our Production Analysis. And on your ribbon in the Analysis menu is Calculations. The calculation screen will display your current calculations that you might have. If the calculation has a check mark, that's going to be displayed at the end of your analysis. If you want to edit one of your calculations, then highlight that calculation and click the Edit button. That brings up your calculation formula editor, and the calculation name is at the top. The spreadsheet data from is selecting one of the segments that you want to be using to verify the formula that you're using in this particular calculation. The calculation is going to be done on all of the segments in your analysis, but this is just selecting one to see what the numbers are. And you can see down at the bottom of the screen are the values that it came up with based on the formula. The spreadsheet rows are including all of the rows that are available in your analysis. So it begins with your performance measures, and then each one of the account types that are included, as well as your total rows. If you click on any one of these cells, it will expand out that particular account type and down to a level where you can select one of these cells in the calculation. You can see all of the different account categories that are included under this account type. And if we clicked in one of those account types, then again, it would break that down. And any of these rows or columns can be used in your calculation. If you click on one of these cells, then that adds it to the bottom of our formula. And we're going to go through doing that in a new one. In this particular one, it's a break even on a per acre. So this user wants to know all of the cost of goods and all of the operating expenses that are accumulated for each one of the segments, and then divide that by the acres. And the acres are being captured from the performance measures because we included acres as one of the performance measures that we're using in this particular production analysis. So down in the bottom is our formula of the cost of goods total amount and the expense total amount, and those are in brackets. It's adding those two first, and then dividing by our acres. Once you have, you can edit this formula if you needed to and change that, but the formula then is telling you what those values are being captured from the spreadsheet data from selection, which in this case is our 18 corn blacktop 300. And so you can see the cost of goods total is, if we click on the cost of goods and go down, we have a total cost of goods of $96.60.83, which is down there. And our total expenses, which is $36,583.87 divided by our acres, which was up in our performance measure. That gave us our calculation over on the right-hand side. And when we click OK, if we select that particular calculation and click OK and come down to the bottom of our screen, we can see that calculation included, and it's in each one of our different segments. Now let's build a new one. If we click Calculations again and click our New button to create a new one, we're going to do a, we want to find out what the total input costs are plus labor on a per bushel basis. So we're going to do costs plus labor by bushel. Okay, so first of all, we want our total cost. So I'm going to click in our cell, and we could choose a different segment here if we wanted to. These are the three that are included in our particular analysis. We could select a different one, but we'll just leave it at that one. So we have our cost of goods, and we want to click there, and we want the total amount. We could do this two different ways. You could either take the amount here of our cost of goods, and when we get to labor, add the labor, and then divide it by our performance measure of bushels, or we could take the dollar per bushel of both of those, and that would be all we needed to do. We wouldn't have to divide because our dollar per bushel is already doing that calculation for us. Let's do it with the amounts. So that brought in our cost of goods sold total amount. And now we need to use one of our functions. So in the middle are our functions of different math functions that we can add to our formula. So we're going to click the add. So we want to add our labor expenses. Now we're going to expand out expenses and labor, and we want our total labor. So we're going to add the total labor. Now we want this being done first, the addition of the cost of goods total amount and the labor expense total amount. We want that being calculated first before we divide it by the bushel. So we're going to put some brackets here. We're going to go to the beginning. We can click our home button and go to the beginning of our string and click our left bracket, and go to the end and click our right bracket. And now we can do our divide symbol. And now we're going to divide by our bushels, which is up in our performance measure. We're going to expand out performance measures and then divide that by bushels. And we have our calculation. And here is how we can verify. We have our total cost, we have our labor divided by our bushel, and that's telling us it's for our cost plus labor, it's costing us $1 per bushel in this particular segment. So we're going to click OK. And if we want to add that to our calculation, we put a check mark in it, and we can click OK. If you wanted to get rid of one of your calculations, you just select it and click the delete button, and that will remove it. We're going to click OK, and that updated our calculations and added another row for our cost plus labor per bushel. And it has our calculation in each one of our different segments. That's how you can use calculations to give you an answer of other things that you want to know about your analysis other than the columns that you're already displaying.